Hello, my name is Maddie Alruna and I am a professional tarot reader, Norse shaman, rune expert and author. And I wanted to share with you today how the runes have influenced me as a tarot reader. Because yes, I do an awful lot of tarot readings. In fact, tarot readings are the main bulk of my professional life. But the runes came first. And my relationship with the runes definitely defines not only how I read tarot, but how I live my life. So probably one of the simplest ways that my understanding of the runes has influenced my reading of tarot is the fact that I work with the 16 runes of the Ynglinga. This is my rune deck, by the way. This is the point I'm going to make. This is 3 of my rune decks combined. You can buy my rune deck direct from my website if you're interested. There are only 16 runes in the Ynglinga. So I was taught that you read with every rune present 3 times. If you're reading with a more traditional deck or set based on discs of wood, you would have one rune on one side and a different rune on the other. The idea being that if you're doing a past, present, future reading, which is the most classical reading, whether you're talking about runes or cards or whatever it might be, every rune can be present in any position. And this happens all the time, where, you know, you pull a rune for the past, and then you pull, let's just say randomly, the rune for the present, and then quite often you may get a repeat rune then for either the past or whatever it might be. And this is how I learned to read runes, with the assumption that in any one of the positions, each rune can be present. And so in tarot, what this means, when I first started reading professionally, I actually read with 2 decks, the Druidcraft deck and the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. I've since moved away from that, though, to be honest with you, I'm thinking about going back to it, and who knows, I might swing back. But in an average tarot reading, which is 50 minutes, I will do multiple small readings. I might do a 3-card reading, then a 9-card reading, then a couple of different 3-card readings. And in my mind, what I'm doing is I'm giving cards the permission to come back. Because it can be really powerful when you've done a series of readings, and this happened just the other day. We did a series of readings, and in every single reading, the card that was present was the 6 of Swords. Now, this is a client that's not particularly familiar with tarot, hasn't had a lot of tarot readings, but she noticed, oh, it's that card again, it's that card again. And then we sat and we talked about that card, about you're moving in the right direction. You might not know where you're going, but you're heading in the right way. And it really meant a lot to her that this card kept coming back. So the idea that I work in my professional rune deck with every rune present 3 times, always easiest to find the Sol rune because it's so bright, has hugely influenced how I read tarot. Probably the next way that it really influenced me was the connection with the Norns. Now, the 3 Norns, represented, there we are, by the Nud rune, they are the weavers of fate. And we have 3 Norns. We have Urd. She represents all that has happened. And so most of my readings will be rooted in the past. This is really important for 2 reasons. Number 1, it allows validation. It allows the client to go, yep, that's right, that's me, I get that. And also, if we can't understand our past and how it's influencing us right now, kind of what's the point in the reading? So I always start my readings, I often usually start my readings by working with Ood, by understanding what has happened. And then we move on to the middle of the Norns, Verdandi. Verdandi represents the present moment. She represents what is becoming. And that's a really powerful concept, because when we sit in the present moment, hopefully we are understanding our past, but we are becoming something new. We are in this liminal space between that which has happened and that is yet to come. And I know a lot of readers go straight to the future, but actually the most powerful point of a reading is this point. What are you becoming now? What choices are you making? What choices could you make now to become whatever it is you are hoping to become in the future? And then when we think about the future, we are working with Skuld, the youngest of the Norns. Now, she does represent the future, but there's a very specific concept for how Skuld represents the future. Firstly, it's the unformed future. And the second word that could be used to represent Skuld is debt. Now, I don't like the word debt because in modern language, it has very negative connotations. So I prefer the word consequences. What consequences will your current actions open up for you? Now, I've talked about this idea in various different blogs and videos, and I talk about the idea that, if I want to run a marathon next week, which I don't, I should point out, in my past, there needs to have been some serious training. In my present moment, I need to be committed to my training, because whether I can run a marathon or not are the consequences of my past and my present. And we use this term all the time in our life. I know that cooking dinner this evening should be easy because I did a good food shop last week and wrote a menu for the week. And I have set aside time today to cook the dinner. So therefore, when I walk into the kitchen, I should have both the time and the ingredients to cook with ease. Unlike some days when I haven't done a good shopping, I haven't left enough time, and I walk into the kitchen and I go, oh God, what do I do? And so to me, this is a very practical way of working with past, present and future that comes directly from my understanding of the Norse. And then the third sort of concept that comes from the Norse that really feeds my use and understanding of tarot is the concepts of Galdr and Side. Probably already gone past him at least 3 times. There we go. So again, I'm talking very much about my understanding of Norse spirituality, which comes from my tradition, which is called Stav. And when we work with the younger Futhark, we have the Os rune here for Odin, and we have the Marn rune here for Freya. And Galdr basically is something that you have learnt, and Side is intuitive download, let's call it that. Now, arguably, in Norse mythology, both Freya and Odin practice the shamanic part of Norse spirituality, which is often called Side. The difference is Freya naturally knew how to do Side, how to work intuitively, and we read in the myths that she taught Odin how to do it. And on reflection, I should probably have found these cards earlier, but sometimes I'm in the flow and things just come. So whilst I look for 2 cards, there are 2 cards in my mind that clearly represent this idea of Galdr and Side. As I search, What would you place them as? And here's the interesting thing. There's no absolutes in tarot. If you come up with a different card or a different pairing of cards to me, do share your answers in the comments. Because even as I look for these two cards, I can think of other cards that would work just as well. So if you've got, there we go, if you've got a different pair, let me know. Because one of the joys of tarot, and the runes in fact, is our personal understanding. So for me, when I think about Galder, Odin, wisdom, knowledge, things that I have learned, things that I have understood, and then I think about side, to know. I just know. Sometimes I look at a reading and I just know. That would definitely translate to, for me, to Hierophant and the High Priestess. And I have long said, and I still maintain it to be true, to be a good tarot reader, I think you need a bit of both. Now, of course, some of us are much more on one side than the other. And here's my advice to you. If you want to develop your tarot reading, work out which is your weakest and improve that. I've always been naturally very intuitive. I've always been able to just know things. I've worked very hard, and I've enjoyed it, in seeking to understand. And my little pet phrase for this is I Galder the side. So I often know things, and then I research, study, understand the images to understand why that intuitive kind of, message came to me. And so this definitely came from my understanding of the runes. The idea that most people either seek to understand the runes or to experience them. But to be a rune expert, I'm going to argue you need a balance of both. And so I intuitively really got to grips with the runes very quickly, and I endlessly and continuously try to understand where my associations come from. And I think, as always, the beauty and the balance is when both come together. So I just felt really drawn to kind of share those thoughts with you. The way that I would often combine, and I just want to make sure that I want 3 Norns in one reading. It has happened. The way that I will often combine the tarot and the runes in one reading, there's 2 ways that I would do it. Either one, I ask the individual questions using the tarot, because I think tarot is great at detail. So if you've asked me, let's say, a career question, then I might look at your current position, I might look at your strengths and weaknesses, I might look at your future possibilities using tarot, and then I almost always do the classic 3-card reading. Let's just, as we're talking about career, let's look at my professional career right now, looking at the past, the present, and the as yet unformed future. So I would then use the runes to look at the overall, the bigger picture, because I think runes are really good at looking at the bigger picture. That really fits with me. I started my business because I realized that my marriage would have a shelf life and I would need an income in the future. So it came from a point of need. I am working, trying to be more logical. Odin is Galder. He is logic. There is an element of structure there as well. But what I'm really trying to do is I'm trying to think about, where do I want to be in 3 years' time, and how do I structure my business now to allow me to have more time to do the things that I really want to do, which is a very Odinic way of working. And that's perfect because the rune here is R. The deity is Jord. She's very much connected with the crone, with the wild woman. Think about women that run with wolves, that sort of idea. I would like to be able to, in the short term, go for lots of short camping trips. In the long term, I'd love to have a camper van and be able to go for longer trips, perhaps around the country. I would like more freedom to be spontaneous. And at the moment, I am trying to structure my business to allow that. So that's one of the ways that I would use the runes. The other thing that I might do, I might use the runes as an archetype. And I might just pull one rune for a client and then describe the rune as an archetype and say, this is the best energy for you to be working with right now. Or let's say that I have done a past, present, and future spread. And of course, if you are working with an oracle deck, if you're working with two different tarot decks, if you're using with two different systems, doesn't have to be runes, doesn't have to be rune cards, you could try this yourself. When I've done the reading, I would then shuffle and place one rune to unlock and deepen my understanding of the past, the present and the future. And I have done that quite a lot, particularly with email readings where, you know, where I've typed up the reading and I've understood it and I think I want to get another level of depth to it. That's when I would then bring the runes in and bring the two together. So it doesn't have to be rune cards that you're blending, but if you do work with two systems, if you do have an oracle deck that you love and a tarot deck you love, or the I Ching or a bag of charms or whatever it might be, I would just urge you to find the best way for you to blend the two together. Think to yourself, how does my tarot really help me? How do my runes or whatever your other system is, how does that really help me? And what's the sweet spot where I can combine the two to get a really detailed and focused reading? I hope you found this helpful. You can, of course, purchase my books via Amazon or online. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do, because it makes a huge difference to my algorithms, as well as making me smile whenever I get a new subscriber.